welcome to Tiny Table Talk for The Challenge Season 38, Episode 17 for the Finals Part 1. I got a lot to cover in this Tiny Table Talk, so let's wait no further and start off talking about... Now, I read quite a few comments from my review and recap from Thursday, and I can understand where people are saying that this finals feels like it's very sluggish, that it's very slow, that nobody's really impressed by what's going on in these finals, as the tasks don't seem overtly hard. Yes, they've been there for over 24, 28 hours thus far, but I feel like the production really wanted to end things off with Olivia and Horacio's exit on the season, that they exited so early, only on Station 3 of a very long race in day 1. I'm sure that with editing and the storytelling, they didn't want to drop it in the middle of the episode, kind of touch base on it, make it feel like they're almost being disrespectful by not taking enough time to be sincere and say goodbye to probably the best rookies we've seen in quite a long time. I can understand where people are kind of not overly enthusiastic. I'm sure also how the episode ends with the elimination, with the injury, with the lack of safety precautions. It's a little sombering to end this episode with such a heartbreaking exit. I'm sure with over 70 hours left in this finals that the next 2 episodes are going to be a lot more quick-paced. From the what's to come next episode, there's going to be a lot of stuff happening, especially the night portion where everybody's like running in a cornfield. One critique I have, besides all the safety precautions that were kind of like flung out the window, no eye protection or anything, but one criticism that I have, I feel like these finals are a steep escalation from what we are used to with the past season finals. What we got like last season, and for the most part from Rivals to season 37, we had 2-day finals, a multi-day final, where the majority of the finals was that on day 1, the teams would start early morning or midday, go all the way to a night portion where teams would sleep in horrendous conditions outside, standing on a stump, standing on some rocks, whatever you want to say. They're outside for a night portion, wake up the next morning. There's really only one thing that has to be done on that last day, and it's a run up a mountain, and then that's it. That's day 2. I don't even think it was a full 48 hours, I would say. So where do we go from here next season? Do we go back to the 2-day final? Do we stick with the 100-hour final? Is there an elevation past this point? Is it going to 4 days to 5 days, 6 days, a whole week? And with the 100-hour final, I felt that maybe more teams could have been added to this final. I know everybody's gonna be like, more teams? No, because Fessel was eliminated right before the finals. That would mean that Fessel and Mariah would have been in the finals if they would have added 5 teams, 6 teams. But hear me out. There could have been purges at every single point. Think of this race that they're doing on day 1, where they're having to do all these different tasks one by one. Say the last place team that finishes up all the tasks and crosses the finish line first onto the second day gets purged. My worry is that we have 70 plus hours left, and we've already had 2 teams get hurt. One team was completely medically DQ'd. The other team is not looking so good. I mean, they weren't looking that great prior to an ankle roll, but makes it even more of a long shot for them to stay competitive if the game continues with these long distance runs, these long endurance stretches, that we have 70 plus hours now of a 2-team game where it's either Bananas and Nani and Tori and Devin at this point. Now, I just think that maybe we could have added more teams to the finals to bulk up the competition a little bit, so that way we're not left with 70 plus hours, 2 episodes left, 2 full episodes left of a final where it's just between 2 teams. But that's just me. I understand where people are going to say 4 teams was enough. This was a freak accident. If more safety precautions would have been had, then we would have had 4 teams, 3 very competitive teams left in this game. That 4 teams is enough. Or you could be saying that Anisa and Jordan aren't necessarily out of it just yet. There's still 70 plus hours. We don't know what to expect moving forward, how these finals are going to be scored. We don't know if this is a point system, just are they clocking time? What's going on? I'm just worried that these finals won't feel as exciting if it's 1 down to 2 teams and one of those teams keeps on with this really long lead and never look back, to where it's utter domination, but also not as thrilling for us, the viewers, to watch. That's my only real criticism at this moment, because we don't even know what's going on with these finals. We've only been here for 20-something hours. Those are my early thoughts on this final so far. What are your early thoughts on these finals? What do you think about them? Are you hoping that they get better, or do you think that they're just fine the way they are? Let's see what's going to happen next. Let me know down in the comment section below. Something I want to touch upon from this past week's episode was Anisa talking about the criticism that she gets online and the pressure she gets from fans that maybe she should pack it up, retire from the challenge, and she feels like she has to constantly prove herself that she deserves to be here. And I wanted to lend some criticism to Anisa's criticism of the criticism that she gets. And I live chat during the episodes every single Wednesday with my patrons, and I want to read what I said in that Discord when Anisa brings up this criticism. And I say, I'll be honest, Anisa talked about all the criticism she gets and pressure for her to retire. But this should be eye-opening. Like, if you can't win with a partner like Jordan, who at this point will be the best partner you could have in a final besides CT, you need to go work on yourself and show everyone you are taking this game seriously and want to be seen as a serious threat. It's one thing to want to be in the finals and talk about how many years you've been on the show, but with no real preparation year after year, there's a point no one cares about your legacy or how many years you've been here. The sympathy well has dried up. There's a few more comments, and then I come back in with saying, the one aspect of Anisa I've seen in my recent look back is that even earlier in her challenge career, like in the Duel 2 finals, she still had really bad conditioning. She had zero endurance, and if in 13 years since her last finals, she's shown zero improvement to up her game in any way besides having more friends, it's infuriating to the audience to watch her compete. To me, that's my main criticism with seeing Anisa. I'm not asking for Anisa to come back the next season looking as buff as Jenny West and having to run a 4-minute mile. But I want to see some improvement. I don't want to see Anisa coming back into the same season being like, yep, I'm still here, and talking about how she's built for comfort, but then upset that she doesn't make another finals, or that she's made a final, but she can't get out of last place. I'm tired of it, you know? Like I said, the sympathy well has dried up. That's where my criticism is. I want to see at least some improvement to your game. But that's my take and my criticism of Anisa. What do you think about it? Let me know down in the comment section below. At the end of this past week's episode, we saw a heartbreaking medical disqualification for Olivia and Horacio. And when I was watching the episode, I thought how horrible this happened to them, how unfortunate this happened to them. And then I was thinking, what are the most heartbreaking disqualifications and eliminations/exits that we've had on the challenge? And so I came up with a list. First, I want to say that this is from a spinoff. I thought of Desi being disqualified right at the beginning of the Challenge USA finals because she was paired up with Enzo, and Enzo couldn't swim. A really strong pair of Coral and Evan from Fresh Meat I thought was heartbreaking to see them get DQ'd from their season. They both suffered a lot of injuries and both had to be medically DQ'd from that season. Again, not as heartbreaking as, say, Desi, and not as heartbreaking as Olivia and Horacio, but I thought that was a pretty upsetting, down on your luck kind of DQ. Now, I put Olivia and Horacio's disqualification at number 2 on this list. And I know people are going to be like, who could be number 1? I put DM Brown being medically disqualified in season 26, X's 2, Battle of the X's 2, as the most heartbreaking disqualification. She came in with so much passion, so much excitement to that season, getting paired up with CT, who was going to be the best partner for her. They got really far on season 22 together, and then they were paired up together again. I felt really bad for Olivia and Horacio, and it's hard to judge pain from one situation to another, but I made that DM Brown documentary a while back, and every time I watched it to like go over QCing or editing and having to watch her be disqualified from X's 2, it brought tears. It almost every single time it brought tears and welled up that sadness in me. And so I have to put DM Brown being medically disqualified in Battle of the X's 2 as a more heartbreaking DQ than Olivia and Horacio's. But I think that all of these are really, really tough disqualifications and exits to every single season. But what do you think about my list? What do you think about my 1, 2, and 3? Do you think Olivia and Horacio was a more heartbreaking DQ? Let me know down in the comment section below. But now let's get to the comment section. The first comment comes from D Money Raw, who says Bananas had to have been throwing shade when asking Nani if she spoke horse. I don't think he was actively throwing shade, but maybe inadvertently. Linnea, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, says, I feel like Nani is really taking this challenge season and final very seriously. I hope Bananas isn't going to be the reason they don't win because he wanted to goof around more than push himself. I was thinking that same thing. I think that Nani knows that it's now or never. This is going to be her best shot. She has made it to the past 3 finals, and she's paired up with a 7-time champ. She's been looking for this win, and Bananas feels like he is goofing around more so than I've ever seen him goof around in a finals ever. Benji comes in with a comment saying, I think that Jordan telling Anisa to believe in yourself and the pain will go away is real. People forget that this man fell out of the sky, smacked into the earth, and still won a final, LOL. I've talked to some people about this episode, and some people were like, oh, well, maybe she's just hamming up her ankle injury to kind of get sympathy from her partner and not to get yelled at as much from Jordan. And I was like, in Dirty 30, he slammed into the earth and fractured something in his leg. I think it was his knee had a fracture in it, and he ran the whole finals with that fracture and won. If you're looking for sympathy from Jordan in any way, it's not coming. I actually think that Jordan is being relatively tame to what he could be. Glenn Dallas comes in with a comment saying, between the janky bolas and the slingshot injury, this is on production, not Olivia. They play fast and loose with the safety of the competitors, and Olivia and Horacio's game suffered brutally for it. I can't add anything to this comment. This is a golden comment. There should have been eyewear. There should have been something to help out these players, because I remember back from The Amazing Race when they had like the watermelon slingshots, and now it's a gif where the watermelon gets flung out and then comes right back and hits that person in the face. And I couldn't help but think of that moment during Olivia's slingshot situation. Like, it's so bad. It was so bad. It could have been so much worse, which I'll get to in another comment down the line. But we'll first hear from a comment from DeAndre Dukes, who says, I speak for everyone that Olivia and Horacio were the MVPs of this season, and it was heartbreaking to see them eliminated. Hope we see them in the future. I'm telling you, if we don't see either one or both on the next season of the challenge, that's a disservice to the audience. To me in particular, no, to everyone, to them, to us, that if we don't see them on the very next season, I say we riot. Luna Plum comes in with a comment saying, my heart broke for Olivia and Horacio. They were my pick to win. Mine too. I was really rooting for them coming into this season's finals. Would love a second chance season for those who are medically DQ'd and see Olivia and Horacio compete again. Like I said, they better be on the next season or I'm throwing fists. Isaiah comes in with a comment saying, on the challenge podcast, Olivia said that the ball broke her face in 5 places, including her optical bone, and it cracked her skull up to her hairline. Where was the face protection, and did it have to be a golf ball? It literally could have been anything softer. I think in the Blind Faith Daily, Jordan and Fessel were shooting golf balls, but I think the golf balls had holes in them. So I don't know if that makes anything softer or if it makes things worse. I just remember that whatever they were shooting off, the balls had holes in them. I agree, there should have been some more protection, period, because that is super, super dangerous. And I did listen to the Challenge Official podcast. It was Anisa and Tori interviewing Olivia, and She said she was going through a lot of recovery. It's a really, really good listen. I know if you're not a huge fan of Tori and Anisa, I would say give it a listen to just hear Olivia's side of the story, as well as Emily Longeretta has a huge article that she interviewed Olivia as well, and that is a fantastic read. So I would definitely suggest reading that article. I'll link it in the description below if you want to take a look at it and just peruse it. Diago comes in with a comment saying, do you think it was unfair that Devin could drink everything on his own, but Horacio couldn't do the whole aiming challenge? Had he done it without Olivia having to shoot, they would probably be catching Banani by the end of the episode. There was a lot of comments questioning whether production should have let Horacio just do the whole aiming by himself. Maybe Horacio could have done 3 of the aiming challenge balls that out of 4, because Devin did drink all the sabotages, but Horacio could have done the 2 sabotage balls and 1 of his, and then Olivia would just had to do 1, but that one unfortunately caused an accident to her. I think if you are a pair, anything could go. Like, if somebody is really good at a certain task, why not just let them do everything? It's kind of like the Amazing Race. Yes, they have to keep switching off back and forth, and maybe you can implement that to add a little bit of strategy of like, oh, you're really good at the slingshot? You do the slingshot, I'll drink all this stuff because I'm really good at eating, or I'm great at heights and you're not really good at heights, I'll do that as well. Like, add that into the game as a part of strategy if you're in pairs, but don't make it everything 50-50. I get that they want to make everything 50-50 to make it seem like everything's fair and not one person is doing everything. So add that into the rules though. Add it to where, okay, you do 50%, you do 50% in a way that it's not like, okay, if you do 1 full task, I have to do 1 full task later down the line. You know, I think that would add a little bit of more of, okay, this is fun, because we get to add a little bit more strategy than to, I have to sink a ball, you have to sink a ball. I hope I explained that well enough, because it kind of makes sense in my brain. If it doesn't make sense, let me know down in the comment section below. I'll read your comment and I'll try to explain it better. Jordan Willis comes in with a comment saying, I literally cried for Olivia and Horacio. It was just so heartbreaking, especially after Horacio tried to argue with production that he would do twice the work and keep going without Olivia. They were definitely the rookies of the year. Like I said, I don't think they're just rookies of the year. I don't think they're just rookies of the season. I think they're the best rookies that we've seen on the show. I mean, almost ever. But I mean, I can't give them the best ever without going through a whole process and kind of ranking every single rookie to ever come across the challenge. But I definitely would say that they are the best in the past 5 seasons. Like, some of the best. Maybe up to War of the Worlds. Lemon Tree comes in with a comment saying, that was awful for Olivia, but man, if the ball hits her in the teeth or eye, it could have been much worse. Permanent damage. I thought of this as well, especially after Olivia went live to show off the scar that she has from this accident. And I was thinking, man, she is lucky to just come out with a scar, and I know that it's still really, really horrible of what happened to her and a really gruesome situation, but to just come out with a scar, she could have lost an eye, she could have, like Lemon Tree said, had more permanent damage. Certified Soft comes in with a comment saying, if Olivia was not medically DQ'd, they would have won the finals. I totally believe it. My heart broke watching this episode for H and O. They deserve to be recasted. We support them 1,000%. I'm an Horacio and Olivia stan from here until the day I am passed on from this earth. And just like everybody that I've brought up in this Tiny Table Talks comment section, but bringing in Lucky Luck to also say it, to really punch it home at the end of this episode, saying all I have to say is, I better see Olivia and Horacio back. That's what I'm talking about. Season 39, they better be here. I'm speaking it into existence right here, right now. But that is it for this Tiny Table Talk. What do you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What do you think about my criticism to Anisa's criticism? What do you think about the heartbreaking DQs that I mentioned? Which do you think is the saddest, heartbreaking DQ that I mentioned, as well as what do you think about the finals so far, the early stages, your early thoughts on the finals, and what do you think could happen next? Who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting against? No spoilers, please. Let me know down in the comment section below. I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who is watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge 38 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.